Welcome, thank you for joining me. I'm beginning this video in the office basically because it's going to be a little bit different to normal. I had a pretty successful night shoot relatively recently on the south coast to photograph a little chapel at St Aldhelm's Head, and having posted an image or two on my Facebook channel, I have been asked if I could explain a bit about how I went about getting the images that I took from, well, let's show you something that looked like this to something that looked like this, and it's quite a process. But what I will do is I will attempt to guide you through some of that. If you're really interested in doing a deep dive into it, what I would recommend is that you take a look at Richard Tatty's channel, which is Night-scape Images, because Richard has a lot of videos, a whole series of videos that go into these kind of techniques, and he's a lot better at explaining it than me. Okay, but for what it's worth, let's have a look. Actually, before we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to skip out to St Aldhelm's Head, and we're just going to watch a little bit of the video that I put together on site as I was capturing these images. Well, good evening, and I'm at St Aldhelm's Head once again, and once again I'm afraid that the conditions, I think, are going to thwart my attempts to shoot a decent Milky Way shot here. I think this is attempt number, it's either 4 or 5 now, I'm kind of losing count, but I've been here a lot of times and it is getting very frustrating. I've set both cameras up, one of them with the night filter on, which does seem to cut a little bit through some of this annoying light pollution on the cloud cover, and so I think that will give better results than the other one. I don't think I've got any lens fogging tonight on my 20mm lens, and I think it's really because the conditions just aren't conducive to that. It's so windy. In fact, it's so windy that it blew my camera, one of my cameras, over earlier, which I was a bit worried about. I'm warbling, aren't I? I'm warbling. So anyway, I've set them all up, both up on doing some interval timer shots, and I've got some they're longer exposures and higher ISOs than I would normally use, and that's because I've not been happy that I've been getting really bright enough night sky and not getting the best out of it. So I tried various different settings again, just to try and see which of them was going to provide the best results. And also what I haven't tended to do on night sky before is use the histogram, so I'm trying to get the histogram so that the light is about coming up to about halfway across the histogram, and so we'll see how that does. I've also done some light painting, and I did that using the camera that has got the night filter on, which I'm not sure in retrospect that I should have done that. I think when they're finished doing their shots, as they are at the moment, I will take off the night filter and just do the shots without the night filter on, redo the foreground shots, the light painting, because it just comes out a really weird colour with the night filter on. Okay, quick update. I've got to say I'm quite excited by what I'm presently seeing on the back of the camera screens, because finally, after 4 years of trying here, I have, I think, some Milky Way clear Milky Way shots with St Aldhelm's Chapel, which is brilliant. You never know though, do you? You really never know until you get them on the big screen and do your post-processing as to exactly what it's going to come out like. But I'm really hopeful that we've got something here that's going to be worth keeping. If these have come out, I am going to be so pleased, so pleased. It literally has been 4 years of trying, 4 or 5 attempts here, and this is the first time finally the sky has cleared. Let's start at the beginning, shall we? And the beginning is really just some of the obvious stuff. You need to make sure you know where you're going, you need to have chosen your location, the time, you need to know what's happening with the sky, and you need to have sorted out your composition, because all of the rest of this, if your composition is poor and it's not an attractive location, it doesn't matter how good it all is technically, it's just not going to, it's a lot of wasted effort. You've got to still keep in mind all of the basic rules of photographic composition and try to pre-visualize what it is that you're attempting to achieve. And that's important because all of that will dictate what methods you use. Now, there are a lot of methods, and what I'm going to do here is explain just a couple of them. The first is the simple single shot method. You choose one of the shots that you've taken over the course of the night, and you squeeze every bit of data that you can out of that one image. The other is a bit more complicated. No, it's a lot more complicated, and it involves taking a whole stack of images, a series of images, which might be separate both for the foreground and for the sky, and then using a number of techniques and pieces of software to blend them together to finally create a single image. And what I'm going to do is try to guide you through both of those methods if I can. So, the first of those methods then is the single shot, and I'm just going to take one of these frames relatively at random. Actually, this is one that I did a little bit of work on, I think, early on, but because it's already got some stuff done to it, I'm actually going to choose the next one, and I'm going to go through a basic process. So we want to go into our develop module, and you'll notice that this really does not look like anything exceptional at all. There's not a lot of information showing there because this is the raw file and I haven't really done anything to it yet. But what I want to do is start to tease some of the information out. So I'm going to make some basic adjustments. Firstly, I'm going to raise the exposure on this image, and then I'm going to add some contrast. So I'm going up to about 35, something like that. And already just with those two changes, you can see well, we've brightened it and we've brought in a little bit of detail into the image. I'm going to increase the whites, and this will help the stars to pop a bit, but it's all a bit too bright now, and so I'm going to take down some of the highlights. So again, this is just working on the contrast of the image. And then I'm going to work on the white balance. So if we look up here at the histogram, we can see that the reds, or the magenta, the greens and the blues are kind of a bit all over the place, and so I'm going to adjust these sliders to try to bring them more together and to get a more neutral kind of tone. It's difficult here to get that exactly neutral for a number of reasons, but largely because I was using a particular filter. But I quite like that look. It's a little bit green, but it's a lot more neutral than what we began with. And I can come back and I can fiddle with this to my taste a little bit later on. Then I'm going to increase the clarity. Clarity often just really helps bring out a bit more in the Milky Way. And I'm going to add a little bit of dehaze. And when we do that, when we add some dehaze, what we might find is that it starts to make it a bit more blue. And so that has taken away a little bit of that kind of greenish tinge. Let's add a little bit of more warmth with a little bit more magenta there. A little bit more warmth up the top there from the reduce the blue. And there's no right or wrong when it comes to this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the tone curve, and we're just going to take down the blacks, and we're just going to raise it up at the other end. So we're giving it a little bit of an S curve there. And so we've now, just with a few minor adjustments there, we've taken it from that to that. So we've got a lot more detail in the sky already. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to take advantage of Lightroom's new denoise process, which uses AI to get rid of a lot of the noise. There's quite a lot on here because I shot this with an ISO of 10,000, which is a lot higher than I would normally use. And so I'm going to click denoise, and it's going to give me a preview of what it thinks that will do. And if I click and hold here, you can see there's a lot of noise in that, and then when I release, it gives me an idea of what it thinks it's going to look like. So I can see just how much of this starscape it's going to get rid of, or how much it's going to retain if I apply noise reduction. This, I have to say, is massively better than it used to be. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, yep, enhance, we'll have some of that, thank you. And it'll take a moment or two, but off it will go, and it'll do a little bit of this. Now, all of these adjustments have been global at the moment. But what you'll notice now is we've just got a massively better image than we started with. So before we were looking at something like this, and now we've gone to something like this. And I haven't really done that much, but the foreground does look pretty dreadful. And so normally actually all of those initial adjustments I would probably have done using masks, and I'll have selected the sky. You can do that like this, go to the masks, select sky, it'll seek out the sky. Quick little tip here, tell it to subtract the sky from the sky. I know that's a bit weird. And then on that submask that it is created, tell it to invert it. It just gives you a more accurate selection here of the sky. And then apply some of those adjustments. And I might actually push them a little bit further, just see what that does. And so I might add a little bit more contrast to that. And actually I quite like that. And so we'll add a little bit more clarity just to the sky here. And that's kind of, you can see immediately that's kind of brightened the Milky Way there. What I don't like is that it has also brightened all the light pollution down to the lower left corner of the sky there. And so what I could do is I could say, right, what I want to do is to intersect that mask with a linear gradient that I sweep down from the top right towards the bottom left, and by doing that it leaves the bottom left out of that. So it's only applied those most recent adjustments to the part of the image that I want it to adjust. But I do want to start working on the foreground now. So if we go to create another mask, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to select the sky again, and then I'm going to subtract the sky from that, and then I'm going to go invert that, and then I'm going to invert the whole of that new mask, and that should just give me the foreground. There we go. So what I need to do now is I need to obviously bring some light into that. So I'm going to raise up the exposure a bit. Particularly I'm going to raise up the shadows, and you'll notice it looks terribly, horribly green. And so I could attempt to adjust the white balance on this, or I could go into the green channel, which I'll do a bit later. Let's do it now. Let's just sort of, what we might have to do on this actually is desaturate it, just to take some of that crazy colour out. But we've just made a small number of changes there, increase the whites a bit, reduce the black and the highlights, excuse me. And so we've now gone from something that looks like this to this, and that really hasn't taken very long. The other thing I might do, I'll just get rid of this satellite trail that is here. So let's click there, shift and hold, go to the end of it, and there we go, we've removed that as well. And just looking at that in full view, that's actually not bad at all. This part of me would be quite happy with that as an outcome, but I know that from this data we can do a lot better. I'm going to pause here and I'll come back in a moment. Okay, so having completed a whole lot of stuff to camera for how to process some of the images on this particular subject, I've probably recorded at least another half an hour of material on how to go to the next stage, and that's clearly way too much stuff for one video. So what I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to leave you with a little taster of what's to come, and dangle that there for you, so that in a few days time another video will pop up, and if you'd like to see how to take it to the next level, how to take a whole series of sky images to stack them together with Starry Landscape Stacker, how to take your light painted foregrounds as well and send those together with the background that you have created, with the sky that you have created, to send all of those through to Photoshop and then go through a blending process of how to get those photographs all together into one coherent whole that looks like this. If you'd like to see that process, then come back and join me on my next video, and we'll do a bit of a deep dive into that one. Meantime, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you again next time.